Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. This is LZ. I'm here with Nick. Today on the show, we have a guest. We have Steve Grad, who's one of the world's top autograph authenticators. And everybody knows that me and Nick love autographs. From his History Channel Pawn Star fame, and we're going to get into that, to now he is the principal autograph authenticator for Beckett. And he also is the founder of the Grad Collection, which is thousands and
Lot.
thousands and thousands of autographs. And we're going to talk about that as well. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here. Actually, I'm really excited about it. I've been seeing you guys, started following you guys a while ago because I like the attitude, the bravado. It's pretty good.
We like you, Steve. I've been a fan of
Yeah,
you for
thanks.
like a decade, my friend. You're on like
Thank you.
so many Pawn Stars episodes, so this is awesome.
Too many. I think it's about 130 or 40 in counting. So
Is
it's
it really?
Holy
Whoa.
yeah,
crap.
yeah. They add up after a while. I think that there's one person, Mark Hall Patton, the big beard, the Quaker hat, red shirt, trademark. He's been on 250 episodes or something.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I've been on about, I think it's about 140 range, but that's also including the road show thing that they do too. So,
Okay.
I did 2 years of that too. So, 2 summers
Nice.
of filming for that. Yeah. So it's been
Wow.
fun. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I could write a book just about those experiences and the people I've met and just coming from, I had a radio background years ago, and then you go into filming a TV show, and I had absolutely no clue, like what to expect first day. It was weird, very weird, but it's all cool now. So it's
Well,
Awesome.
we
easy.
don't want you holding back today, even though you have plans to write a book. We want you to spill as many beans as you can
Sure.
today about that and other topics. But let's start from the beginning, right? Even just with my introduction, right? Like you have 100,000 autographs. You're on Pawn Stars as this autographed aficionado and expert. And let's just start with your journey, like you getting into collecting, how eventually the whole Pawn Stars opportunity happened. Now you're at Beckett. Like you got an illustrious career, especially in autographs. And I call it you're one of the
Yeah.
top autograph authenticators in the world. So
Thank
how
you. I
did this
appreciate it.
happen?
It's been a weird journey. It started off as an 8-year-old kid running around the ballpark getting autographs. And for the people out there that listen and follow this, it's like you start chasing autographs as a kid. It's you're at the ballpark. I had baseballs still signed by like Brian Downing and Gene Mauch and Minnie Minoso and whoever would sign it at the ballpark, I would get them. But eventually I started getting cards signed about 82, 83. And then you start evolving. And then at some point, about 87, 88, I'm like, wait, these guys got to stay somewhere. So you start going to hotels. And then eventually you run into it's being in Chicago, you run in, that's where I grew up. You run into like a rock band or you see a celebrity and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to get their autograph. Then you start doing that, and then you run into a president or an ex-president, and it was this huge evolution, and then you become insane crazy. And I think you guys have seen crazy collectors, and I have card collectors, bat collectors, game used jersey collectors, autograph collectors. You go crazy for this stuff, and I think that was the evolution of it. Somewhere in the 80s, late 80s, I sold baseball cards at shows and autographs. In the 90s, I've done, I think, 29 nationals, maybe something in that, somewhere
Wow.
in that
Okay.
range. Yeah, I
Cool.
think the first one was the Chicago one. The first Chicago one, whenever it was 81,
Hmm.
82, I
Wow.
was at that one.
That's
So
wild.
yeah, I go way back to doing that. And going to little card shows outside Chicago, the National. And eventually, this stuff, it gets crazy. I'm in your 20s and 30s. And I did work for Master Auctions for a while, for 2 years, just writing stuff and helping them authenticate. And then from there, I met Jim Spence. And Jim Spence was at PSA, one of the founders of PSA
Yep.
DNA. Jim brought me on there to work there. Jim left PSA in 2005. I took over basically the whole operation out of California, and I was with them until 2016. And then I left and founded Beckett Authentication with Brian Sobrero. And then that's kind of that whole journey. But in between, man, I don't know how to describe the collecting thing because, I loved, like, Star Wars is a big focus, always has been.
Mm.
And I started at about 90, I think 91, getting my first Star Wars autograph. And then it was Harrison Ford after that who did The Fugitive in Chicago. And then I was like hooked on it. And I've traveled to England, New Zealand, France, all over the United States, Canada, done signings with actors, the people who made the movies, all that stuff. And it's been awesome to do all this stuff. But I think I learned this a long time ago. You can't you might reach maximum capacity on some of this collecting, and it was like I'm collecting this TV show and this movie genre and this and this, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I can't.
You gotta
Can't
stop.
do it.
Can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two huge safes.
We've been down those roads too.
Coming
Yeah.
out of your eyeballs.
Yeah, dude. I mean, how much can you actually do? I mean, I know some guys just keep going and going and going. And, a good example is Marshall Fogel, who I've known for 32, 33 years, Colorado lawyer, but he is,
Yeah.
has a crazy collection.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's after him to get rid of it. And Marshall still is holding on to all of it. And
Yeah.
he's in his 80s, I think he's in his late 80s, and he just can't stop. And there's people like that. And I know at some point I'm 54, I'm not living forever. And I would rather enjoy the great things in life now instead of, trying to go to Europe when I'm like, if I live that long, if I'm 85, let's say, or 82, and you're trying to do these trips and, it doesn't really work well. So, I would rather do it now, enjoy my life, and let other people enjoy the stuff because I've had enjoyment. I've had pleasure out of it. It's been great. But
Makes
at the
sense.
same time, time to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the motivation behind the company
Mm.
and just getting rid of it and enjoying my life. And I would rather, go to France for 2.5 weeks, which I'm doing soon, or
Nice.
go to Europe, and see a football game than worry about the 600 Mark Hamill autographs I had, yeah. And truthfully, I did. So it was like, at what point does it get too much? Do I need 500 Harrison Ford pieces signed?
No.
No.
I don't.
you
Or do I need 30 Star Wars posters signed or all this stuff? It doesn't do me any good. And at the end of the day, I don't need it anymore. And that's why, my wife and I are putting it out there. We do the national once, obviously once a year, and that's it for shows. And then we have eBay platforms and sell off eBay. So, and we're still trying to find, like, it's weird. I'm still trying to find my niche and our niche in this because Beckett isn't going to last. I'm not going to be an authenticator forever.
Mhm.
And I know that. So I have to start thinking of what the future holds and how hard I want to work going forward. So,
Yeah. I had no idea that you actually founded the Beckett authentication.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
So wow.
We left. Yeah. So the PSA thing had run its course, and
Yeah.
I could have stayed there for another, I think in 2016, another 5 years at least, because my contract was up. But I decided that, hey, it's time to try something else, try to dive into something new. And, I'm really proud of what we've done with the authentication. I can't speak for the rest of Beckett. And, I don't promote their brand on my social media anymore. I don't do that. And that's a complicated issue. But, I support the authentication and what we do, but I kind of stay away from that. I'm more driven to do a good job, not screw anything up, and help the authentication part of it as much as I can. I don't get involved with comics, cards, VHS grading, whatever else they're doing, good for them. It's not my involvement. So
Yeah. All right. Before Nick, I'm going to steal a little bit more time here because
It's all good.
we did open with Pawn Stars, and I'm sure many people that are listening are aware of the show and probably have seen you on that show. When did that show start, and how did they approach you, and how did you get involved with that?
that's kind of a wacky story too. In 2009, they came to PSA and said, "Hey, we want to pitch this opportunity for you guys to appear on the pilot episode." At the time, PSA was working on their own show. And this is stuff I didn't even know, but they were working in 2009 about doing a show or being involved in a show. So they said, "No, thank you. And we don't want to do a show that is at a pawn shop." Okay. That was in '09. Well, the show got really popular all of a sudden. '09 it started. And by 2010, 11, 12, the show was on fire. And 2000, I want to say it's like around end of 2012, something happened. If you guys have watched the episodes, there was a guy named Drew Max who used to appear. He was out of Vegas. AAU was his company. And I mean, I wouldn't want that cert on anything I owned. But at any rate, they had gotten to the point where they couldn't have him on anymore because he was costing him so much money. They had, matter of fact,
Oh.
there's an episode, if you guys go look it up, there's the Joe Jackson book.
Uh-huh.
I believe he said was good. They sent it to us. I remember getting it at PSA. We rejected it. And then they showed the rejection letter on air saying they shouldn't have bought this. They got a rejection letter on it.
Oh man.
No.
They had enough. Yeah, they had enough with Drew. So they got rid of Drew. Yeah. It was a weird period for them. They had really nobody doing autographs. And they called Joe Orlando, I think right at the beginning of 2013, end of 2012. And Joe goes, hey, give this person a call. And Joe was my boss at PSA then. And I said, okay. And I called him and I had no idea who I was calling, zero clue. And it was a casting director, said, hey, do you want to be on Pawn Stars? We're trying to get you guys on here. And I said, sure. So that's how it started. And it's been weird to be part of something like that because I had no idea what it was about. I watched the show before I was on it. And then watching the episodes and seeing me on it, I'm like, God, man, I had hair back then when I started. I don't know if I was as confident as I wanted to be. I think I was, but I look back at it now and it's more so easy for me to do it. And I've traveled with them. We've filmed in Europe. We filmed all across America, filmed all over Vegas with them, California. It's been fun. It's been very interesting. And I'm good friends with Rick Chumley. Chumley's a hell of a businessman too. He's into the Pokemon stuff like crazy.
Yeah,
so
he sure is. He sure is. What a
so
wild ride.
Oh, dude, it's been crazy. So yeah.
Awesome.
Nuts.
So Steve, I got a couple. These are probably quicker questions for you,
Sure.
but actually they'll be tough for you to think about. So the first one is, what is the rarest autograph that you've ever authenticated? And then the second one, this one, I don't know. I think I thought of this in the shower or something. I was like, what's the one autograph you've never seen but are chasing? Like, is there something signed by Jesus Christ? Or is there like something crazy out there that doesn't exist that you've never seen?
There's got to be something. I just haven't put my fingers on it yet for sports. I mean, I'd say the guys that it's weird, the baseball Hall of Famers that we never see. I mean, do you ever see anything signed by Ed Delahunty? He had a great story too, as I think he fell off or was thrown off a train and died.
Whoa.
If you go look up Ed Delahunty, he's a great player, but finding his autograph is tough. And it seemed like that stuff would come out fake many years ago. I never see it anymore. And I mean, for me, at least seeing that stuff in front of my face is really cool. And, I think finding stuff that is like, and I authenticated this recently, it was documented. John Belushi's last autograph was signed on a Rolling Stone and it was done at a nightclub. It was literally right before he died. It was documented in a news article, and it was on eBay like 3 years ago. And a friend of mine bought it for $120.
No.
Yeah, and it turns out it's like the last thing he signed. But I could tie that into another cool thing of Belushi because I love Belushi. But it was like the check-in card for the chateau where he died in Beverly Hills, and it was like his check-in card filled out by him when he checked into the hotel. It's the last time he ever checked into a hotel.
Ooh.
So I tie that into it's really cool to see stuff like that. Like, is there stuff I'll never see? I don't know, man. Like I've seen most autographs. If they're sports, entertainment, there isn't really anything that I haven't seen. And that includes historical too, including, John Wilkes Booth and presidents. And I've pretty much seen them all. I don't know if there's.
I was trying to think of a famous one, somebody famous that has
passed
just
away
never
early.
signed. Like you've never seen it, but he's like super famous.
I think the guys that I think is always cool to see is like, Jim Morrison on something good.
Yeah.
Is he on a photo? No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I've never seen one that's real.
Really?
Album,
So you've never seen a photo signed by Jim Morrison?
No.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. What was his window? 3-4 years?
Right. Right.
He wasn't, from what I've heard from collectors back then and research. I mean, it's not like he signed a lot.
That's a good
It's
point.
not like he was signing his name a lot. You had someone like him, you had Hendrix, you had Joplin, all those people.
That's right. I have that Joplin photo, and she only had a few years too, and it cost a lot of money to get authenticated. It was, but yeah, no, I have it now. It's pretty cool. It was
but Morrison is the one. If I had to go back, and I was thinking about him with Val Kilmer just yesterday, and I'm like, there's hardly anything good signed of him, and I mean, it's maybe one album or two albums. the checks that are out there, and that's probably no more than a dozen or 2 dozen checks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they're super rare, and he's one guy. I mean, I always just think it's cool when you see something you don't expect to see, you know?
What about like James Dean? Is his autograph prevalent? Like he died
Uh,
early. River
there's enough.
Phoenix,
River
another
Phoenix,
one.
there's enough.
There's enough. Okay.
Yeah, there is, because
Yeah.
River Phoenix had a period where he signed, he filmed movies. A friend of mine lived up in Oregon when he filmed a movie, and River Phoenix actually came to a garage sale at his house and he had him sign 5 photos.
Come on.
Yeah,
Oh,
dead
that's
serious.
cool.
Yeah, really weird.
Yeah.
The Indiana Jones photos on him are worth a lot.
Ooh,
Huh.
That's like $5,000 to $6,000.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
That's wild.
All right. Well, you touched on you mentioned early when you were answering Nick something about fakes, and I do have a question around that.
Sure.
How is the industry doing recently, with identifying fakes? Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Are they staying the same?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, PSA has different, and truthfully, I would only recognize just 3 companies in this realm: PSA, JSA, and us. And JSA is part
Beckett.
of CGC. So
Mhm.
Beckett, JSA, PSA. They all have different authenticators on staff that look at different things and have different specialties. I don't really know a lot of the JSA guys. I know Jim very well,
Sure.
obviously, and
Yeah.
his
Friend
son.
of the show, Jim.
Yeah,
He's
he's
been
been
on
Yeah.
on.
before. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
You mean the old man Jim or the young
Both
man
of
We
Jim?
them.
yeah, we've had both of them on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Junior
Yeah.
and the third.
Yeah. And I work,
Yes.
I worked with Jim. I lived with Jim. I mean, I worked out of his basement. This
Oh,
goes
wow.
back
Oh,
23
cool.
years ago. So, but
Mm.
PSA, I don't talk to the guys there. I know a few of them, but I don't know their skill sets. I mean, I see stuff and I know one of the things maybe you want to ask me about is the basketball cards and stuff like that,
We'll get there.
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I can wait
Yeah.
on that. But I mean, I think in general, there was a rash of stuff I saw come out with PSA that they had made some mistakes on some new stuff.
Mm.
People might say, "Oh, you guys make mistakes too," and yeah, everyone's going to make mistakes because we're human beings. There is not, we're not at 100%. No one could run at 100%.
Right.
And Beckett just had a thing where someone inserted a bunch of Kelsey stuff, Jason Kelsey stuff, which were going after the people. So, and then
Oh.
the guy in Texas that just got busted a couple months ago, he was faking autographs and making fake Beckett stickers. And
Oh,
also,
really?
Fanatics, Mountain Memories, PSA. He was doing everybody. But he's been at it for years and years and years. Finally, they got to him, the feds did, and shut him down.
Wow.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
great that
But
there's actually action being taken because I know
Mm.
Curtis Foster's another one. We can get into that later, but
oh God, why? That's he's
it's
been at it
okay.
for years though. He's been at it for as long as I've been around and I've known about him.
Wow.
So, it's unfortunate. And there's a guy down in St. Louis too that does a lot of nefarious stuff too.
Interesting.
Southern
Well,
Illinois really is probably closer to St. Louis, but yeah. And I
huh.
have files on a lot of these guys. And Larry Studebaker, who I work with, he works out of our Dallas office. Larry keeps files on all these guys too, because you see him so much. And
Mm,
do you guys know about Hankel out of Michigan?
No.
nope.
Mm-mm.
So I think 4 years ago, it's coming up on 4 years. He was raided by the feds too, and he had a whole operation going on in an old barn up in Michigan, and for years. And I go back to I think he started about 96 in our business. He just started peppering stuff in. What he would do is he would have a great story. He would have provenance. He would have old people set up. He would front all this stuff. Comes from a cop's family in New York, comes from former clubhouse attendant's family in New York, blah, 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 blah. Went on and on and on. The line he crossed, and this tells you how difficult it is to actually get nailed. And it's so hard. And I've worked with the feds on maybe 4 or 5 cases through the years, especially at PSA. We used to work with them. But the line he crossed was artwork. And he started dabbling in artists that had died in 1800s, 1870s, but the inks, he couldn't get the inks to pass muster. And the stuff he was using was post World War II instead of pre-World War II
It's
paints
cool that you
and
can see
inks.
that.
Yeah,
Mm.
and they caught him, and that's where he got caught. We
Awesome.
found him years ago, and did we search some of his stuff? Yeah, everyone did. Jim did,
Yeah.
PSA did. It happened, but we cut it off so soon. We had figured out his Babe Ruth forgeries. We were seeing these impeccable Ruths come out. I mean, Oh my God, the balls were scorchers. The single photos were great, but he would
Really?
inscribe stuff wrong.
Huh.
Always. He would not inscribe stuff right. He would get the inscriptions wrong on everything.
Jeez.
And yeah, and he would always do these improbable pieces, like, baseball used by Christy Mathewson in one of his last games with crazy inscriptions and all this writing on it. But uh, like on that ball, he used a style of writing that wasn't developed, I think in 1916, whenever it was. It was 1916. This style of writing came from like the late 20s. And he was using a style of writing from the late 20s for a ball from 1916.
Wow.
And
So you get into that depth when
You
you're
can tell,
looking
yeah,
at these.
tell by the
Wow.
year.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that was a cool one. But the guy in Michigan, that came from the guy in Michigan too. So the Feds worked a really long time, but the artwork crossed the line. When you're going 500,000 in on guys of
Sure.
obscure artists that no one has seen in years, very little of his artwork. The guy's really smart, but he was able to sprinkle stuff through many auction houses. He'd use auction houses. He'd get them. I remember he would. I don't know how he did it, but we'd go to like Gray Flannel and up in New York years ago. This is over 20 years ago. And the day after we left, they'd get a box in from him. And we'd go to Hunt Auctions. The day after we left, they'd send a box in. So it would always make it difficult. Like they'd have to send it to us or they would just run it.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people got stung in this, but a lot of people have been, David Hunt from Hunt Auctions has been hyper vigilant in making sure this guy got nailed. He did a great job. We had a secret, not a secret meeting really, but the Feds, Hunt Auctions, all the big auction companies and authenticators all met in Chicago 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I can't, it may have been 4 years. We all met in a conference room in Chicago at the National. And it was kind of cool to be there with all the guys. Kevin Keating was there and Spence, his son, Ken Golden,
It's like
Chris
a
Ivey.
movie.
Yeah.
It was
Pretty cool.
The five families.
Yeah.
together.
Dude, it was kind of like that. I mean, you had, Ken Golden's over here, and Chris Ivy's here, and
Yeah.
all the guys from the big auction houses were there. David Hunt, and we all met together with the Feds. And one of the things they pulled out was like this guy was doing baseball bats, like game used bats, and he had a Garrick bat. And the thing is, there's bat records. So you could trace these bats back to like when they came from, what year, what batch, when they were ordered. And this bat was perfect. The weights were perfect, the markings, but he was able to duplicate that much of it. But what he would do to get the weights right is he would put lead, he would hollow out the bats and put lead in them.
Sure.
But they showed an x-ray of the bat.
There
And
you
it
go.
was cool because you could see it in there.
Yeah.
And this guy is the best. I mean, he's the best forger I've ever seen. I think he goes to trial. I want to say it's like in June or July this year. So
Wild. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Give me your top 3 most forged autographs. Who are they?
right now, Jordan for sure.
Jordan number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, Babe Ruth is still up there. It's kind of crazy to say that people are still forging him. Yeah, we see him so much that I probably in the last 2 weeks have seen 25 fake Babe Ruths.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ruth,
Jeez.
and then I think the king of them still, it's going to be hard to beat. I mean, he's right up there as Mantle.
Okay. I
Okay.
didn't think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mantle.
Yeah, but all the stuff that's gone on with Jordan, okay, and I think maybe you guys have seen some of it, the 86 Flair rookies.
Oh, yeah.
I started seeing them at PSA about 2014 or so. And they started coming from a guy in Inland Empire in Orange County in California. And he'd submit them like 5 at a time. And I'm like, nah, something's wrong here. Ink was wrong pen. It had the upper deck stickers on them. And we started turning him down, turning him down. Went to Beckett and started getting him in again. Again, people thinking, oh, we'll just submit him to Beckett. Same thing. Same guy in Orange County. But then I think they come out of Europe somewhere, or China. I say Asia. I think that's where they are sourced from. But I mean, I've probably seen the 86 Flair Jordan. I would say minimally 500 to 600 fake, maybe more. Yeah.
Oh,
Signed.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. And then
It's
they
cheating
end up
too
like-
because
Yeah.
the card that's
Yeah.
being signed, if the card's real, that you're basically just graffitiing the card, man.
Yeah,
You
most of
know?
the cards were real. That's
yeah, that
the thing.
sucks. I mean,
oh.
at least do it on a fake card if you're gonna fake the autograph.
No,
You know,
no. I mean, most of them are not on fake cards. These are
Yeah.
real
Oh, that
cards.
sucks. That
Because
sucks.
they want to submit for dual grade, so they're
Sure.
submitting both
Yeah,
ends.
of course,
So,
of course.
hey, if I get a 9.9 or let's say you get a 10.10,
Yeah,
who knows?
well, yeah.
I mean, that's worth crazy money.
I mean, the
that's what
cheapest
these
one of
guys are
those,
after.
you could fold one of those in half and it's worth $2,000. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Oh man. So speaking of like MJ, I always thought this was interesting. I went through this myself. I found, I had a Janis Joplin photo that was signed from a really rare collection, and I was super stoked. And I had to pay like $250 to get that
Sorry.
thing. Well, this one went through JSA, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm used to like $20, $30,
No.
$50, and then Jordan's 200, Janis is like 250, Hendrix is like 300. Why does it take more time and research? Like, why are some of them more expensive than others to look at?
I really think Joplin's the one you hit on. I mean, okay, for one thing with her, there's so few to say that's authentic. Okay.
Mm.
She
Huh.
didn't sign a lot either. And there's not a lot of her autograph out there. And the value assigned to it. I mean, Janis Joplin, unfortunately, isn't going to be as much as Jeff Bagwell is to submit. It's a big difference. It's a big spectrum. And
Sure.
it's really based on value of the autograph. And Jordan's another good example. Babe Ruth, Abraham Lincoln, the Beatles, Kurt Cobain, Cobain's a great example of someone that had, let's say, 7 years, 6, 7 years, right?
Mhm.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
Think of all the time he was drugged out as well. And I know guys who got him pretty consistently in the '90s. John Brennan, a collector out east, had gotten him many, many times. He had a diary written of all the times he got in Cobain. It was crazy.
Cool.
He'd gotten him repeatedly through the years, and
Huh.
but guys like that were not easy. Getting Cobain, especially later in life, was tough, and drug problems. And
Yeah.
here's the thing: forgers are going to target anybody. Okay, Bob
Mhm.
Feller is forged. That says it all. Pete Rose is forged. I just saw one last week. Fake Pete Rose. Pete Rose, like, wait a minute, that's Pete Rose. That's fake. And it was recent too. It wasn't like something done like 30 years ago. And I think the more time we put into it, the more it should cost. And I mean, Cobain's a good
Okay.
example of a guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll tell you the truth. Like a lot of the younger players we see come out, I mean, can you authenticate their autographs? You know how hard this is?
Oh
Guys
my
that
Yeah.
God.
struggle.
We talk about this
Yeah.
all the
They're
time.
awful.
Yeah.
It's like chicken scratch.
Yeah. Jackson Merrill just said how he doesn't like signing the stuff. I just saw an article on it. And, it's so hard to authenticate these guys anyway. And now, at least Otani, when he came into the league, had a really nice autograph, and it's
Sure.
obviously it's gone. It's degraded to almost nothing, and
Mhm.
it's ugly. Fanatics does exclusives with him, and obviously he doesn't really sign in person anymore. So those days are over. And matter of fact, I think I find this really interesting. I'll mention this little tidbit, and something you guys might not know, and a lot of people don't know, is like I know people that work in Major League Baseball clubhouses, have worked forever. Now players are starting to limit what they sign. So
Mm.
recent guys, Otani, 4 pieces for uniform personnel only. So if 4 pieces come over from another clubhouse, they have to have the player's name on it. Who's it for? Otani will sign it. 4 pieces, that's it. He'll sign a
Wow.
baseball or a jersey. That's it.
That's it.
Mike Trout this year, 10 pieces. That's all I'll sign.
Hmm.
Uniform personnel only. And guys are limiting it. Like for years, like Albert Pujols would travel with notebooks. I don't know if you guys know about this, but
No.
Nope.
he'd come to a city and they'd say, okay, here's stuff for you to sign. And it had to have a name on it, like who it was from. So he'd open up his notebook and he'd look and he'd be like, oh,
Are you kidding me?
why does Aaron Judge need 2 signed? I signed 2 from last year.
So
Oh.
he actually had a
Good
book.
good
He,
Yeah.
he kept
plug.
receipts. That's
Yeah, he kept
Yeah.
crazy.
receipts. Yeah, on everybody. And
Wow.
and this comes from like people I know in clubhouses, but also former major league players that I know too. Like guys actually were
Drank it.
really super weird about it. But Otani and now Trout, you look at guys that have exclusive deals. Otani with Fanatics, Trout with the MLB company. Um, I think more and more guys are going to get like that and try and limit their autograph out there in the marketplace. So
Mm.
Interesting.
it's an interesting tidbit, not to get sidetracked. So I
Mhm.
just thought it
Yeah.
was cool to talk about it.
Thank you for talking just about the inner workings, especially with Nick's last question around kind of
Sure.
why things are more expensive. It's because of the time and effort it goes into to authenticate some of these. How does one become an authenticator? And then what sort of training do these people get? Like on your staff at Beckett?
That's a
Like what do
that's a
they
good
go through?
question.
Yeah.
I could tell you about the guys on our staff. We're all chasers. Everybody
Mm.
chased autographs for literally their whole lives. I think out of the guys we have, every single person on our staff was an autograph chaser. And we're currently training a younger kid, 19 years old now, but he has such an affinity for it. He's really great with autographs, but I could see how long it's going to take. It's going to take a long time, but he's actually really good at identifying fakes and real. But I think the thing is there's no class you could really take. You take handwriting classes, and I've read books on it. And I think the time that I spent truthfully in the field, getting autographs for years and years and years, and I'm talking, spring training and hotels and every event you could think of. And then also when I started at PSA, and I was, we'd go to auction houses, and this is stuff nobody sees, we'd go to auction houses and have lots of 500 baseballs, 6,000 index cards. You'd go through card sets signed from the 70s and 60s and 50s. And I'd sit there with Jim Spence and we would go over this stuff and exemplars. And after a while, you get to know it. You study it. You have to work around it. You have to hold it. It's got to be like, you can't do it off a computer. I can't sit here and learn off a computer. There isn't any way to do that. The only way to do that is experience it and be around it. Now, what does it take to be an authenticator? Someone who has an affinity for it, someone that's trustworthy, someone that's not a scumbag, because there's the business is filled with them. So it's got to be people who are credible or reputable, and can bring something to the table. And you have to be able to identify stuff. And quite honestly, I can't tell you. It's hard to explain. Just at Beckett, when was I there? Tuesday and Wednesday this past week, at the offices in Plano. And the amount of stuff they get there is crazy. And I can imagine the other companies are barrage too, but it's the encapsulation stuff is crazy. And this has been going on for years. We'll get orders regularly of 400 cards, of 800 cards, of 60 cards, of 90 cards. You have to be able to go through that stuff with some kind of, not speed, but with confidence it's real. And you have to be able to look at that stuff and know it's real. So
Sure.
I could grab a pile of cards like this, maybe 60 cards and in holders and go through it. But Yogi Berra, Roger Clemens, you have to know Raleigh Fingers, but you have to know all these names. And then you might be in football, and do you know Junior Seau, and do you know basketball? Do you know Michael Ray Richardson or Daryl Dawkins? I mean, you have to like jump all over the board with this stuff. And then you have another order where you might have Bela Lugosi and Harpo Marx and Virginia Mayo or whatever it is. But do you know Charlton Heston, his secretary? Do you know John Wayne's secretary? John Wayne had a stamp. Do you know that Jim Kelly, the former Bills quarterback, had a stamp, for his mail autographs? I mean, it's all this stuff that you have to
need
know.
the reps.
All right.
Over
Yeah,
time.
you need the reps.
Exactly.
You need to be passionate about it. You need to like it. And then it's not like a time thing. For somebody, it might take a year. For somebody else, it might take a lifetime, I guess.
By the way, there's guys that we've tried out through the years that just suck, that can't do it. And they've worked at several companies, and I've tried working with them, and that's an easy, we got rid of a guy at PSA after 30 days because he was awful. Guys just don't have that kind of skill set. And some people think they do, but man, when you get into it, and we've tested people, and you really start running a test by them and see what they could do, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to go from so many different genres and Mickey Mantle stamps and secretaries of this and Clubhouse Babe Ruth and secretaries of Babe Ruth. And did Ty Cobb have a ghost signer? I mean, it keeps going on and on and on. Like, you just have to, it's up here. So.
All right.
Sorry to bore you.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
No way.
No worries. We'll speed things up here a little bit. So I've got, this one has pissed me off. Okay. Yeah. So for those on audio, this is a Ron Williams card. If you don't collect 1969, you're not going to know who this guy is. Okay. LZ and I are set collectors. I've got the 86 Fleer stickers and base, dual graded, and slabbed and autographed. It's fantastic. And now I've got this set also, except two of them are cuts. This is an extra, thankfully.
That's an extra one.
But I've sent this to everybody, and it's inconclusive everywhere. It's driving me nuts. So can you explain why it's so difficult to put that yes stamp on something this obscure?
It happens. I mean, you know what? I have to tell you the truth. I think that's a good example. Now, I will say this much. 15 years ago at PSA or PSA DNA, when we started, I'd see those things. I mean, it was rare you'd see them fake. But how much is that card worth signed?
This card worth signed in a slab, probably $3,500.
Okay. Yeah. And there's cards from that set of guys that are worth what? 3,000-4,000 that are
or the Will Chamberlain could be 8,000,
Not even him, but I'm talking about
the guy Rogers.
Obscure.
Yeah, Guy
Anyway,
Rogers will be 10 G's the next one that
yeah.
pops up.
And you talked about him before too, right?
I
I've
have.
seen
That's
you do
one that I
stuff.
need.
Yeah.
I have a cut of Guy Rogers. I need
Yeah.
if anybody's listening, I need a Guy Rogers on card 69.
Well, okay, first of all, you have to think who was going for that stuff then and who was sending to them. Even
Yeah.
back in those periods, it was minimal. It wasn't a lot. Did they have collectors that would go to the hotels? Yeah, I know guys in Chicago that used to go for basketball, hockey, football, baseball, all of them. But basketball tended to be a little more for the obscure collectors. And hockey did too. Football, baseball, a lot of guys went for that did collecting in person. But it seems like that basketball is just more, a little more obscure. And you have to find the people that did it. And then if people sent to them, I mean, how the hell would you find a guy like that after he was done playing or just during his playing days sent to the team?
It's
Most
tough.
guys didn't. Yeah, it's tough. So I think those things are super obscure. Who's the other guy? We see a lot of fakes. I just saw Brisker, you know, I can't remember, John Brisker, Roger Brown, those type of players, they go for a lot of money on that stuff.
But
And
why is it so hard to say yes to it? It's like
well,
just
you want to put it in you want to make sure it's real.
I guess. I guess.
Yeah,
I just
mean,
want to
that's
hear a
ultimately-
no or a yes. It's fine.
Yeah,
I get
Nick.
it. You
I
know,
have four
you know a little
examples
bit
of
about
him, yeah.
autographs, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I
have
get
four.
it.
I have four examples of him, and
Of Ron Williams?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So they're obscure. I mean,
Okay.
they just really are tough.
You just
And I
need
mean,
more less examples, harder it is, and
it
more
is too, you know,
inclusive.
and I mean, it might be the same way for the guys at PSA or at
Yep.
JSA too. It's tough when you don't really have a lot to work with. Sometimes you punt, sometimes you fail it. Just how I feel about it. Like there's a zone in which you feel safe, and there's a zone in which you don't. And sometimes with stuff like that, it's like, man, that's a dangerous one. At least to authenticate.
Okay.
And let me ask you, when did he die?
This guy, I mean, gosh, I actually don't know. I'd have to Google it. And
Google.
it's
Let's
gonna.
see.
All right, let's see. Ron Williams,
Yeah.
NBA death date. That's
Yeah.
kind of creepy.
Yeah.
2004.
Okay, so he died in 2004, but he died in obscurity. I mean, who knew where he was? He could have been living in
Right.
could have been living in a nursing home or something. These guys are tough to find.
These
You know,
sets are tough. These sets are tough to finish. It's okay.
Oh,
I get
man.
it. I get it.
Are they ever?
I might know someone who has that signed.
Oh,
I have one
Ooh.
signed. I have one signed in a slab.
Yeah.
This is an extra, but I don't want to lose half the audience going down the 69 rabbit hole. I just wanted your opinion. It's okay. I think
All right, well,
LZ's got a.
let's bring the audience back then.
Yeah.
What is hot
back,
right
come
now?
back.
You cannot avoid it. Is AI. Steve,
Yeah. Yeah.
why can't AI do these authentications?
I think they probably can. I had right before maybe 2019, I think, and I had dinner with a guy who was working for a big company, not involved really with autographs, but he wanted to help with this business and develop a program to do that. This is 2019. And I thought it was a great idea, but it can never be the deciding factor. It could never let a computer decide if Mike Trout's signature is real or not. Could it contribute? Yeah, I've always said that. No
Right.
doubt about it.
Mhm.
You know, if you pump in enough Mickey Mantle, fakes, secretarial, stamp, real, then I would think they would be able to determine within some certainty if it's good or bad. But I think the human still has to have that final deciding factor. For example, at Beckett, if we were having a debate over, let's say, Eddie Plank, who
Mhm.
pitched for Philadelphia, he's a tough autograph, very obscure. But if we're having a debate over his autograph, we're able to load in, to a program or have 12 examples or 15, which I might have, and put those in a computer or an AI, and it could tell us within certainty if that signature we're asking about is real based on the examples we have. That would be helpful. But would it be a deciding factor? No way. No chance. And I know they do it on cards. I know Tag does the computer stuff on cards. And I
Yep.
think it's cool. But for autographs, I don't know if that's going to work.
It's
I don't
hard.
think
I mean,
it will.
Jimmy Spence has told us that he has a massive database of autographs.
Mhm.
You have also mentioned that you kind of have your own
Yeah.
database of autographs. I really think you could take your databases and train some AI to do some of this. That's just my opinion though, right? I'm a tech guy. I talk tech a lot on this show. So I think
like
it's
that. By the way, I
possible.
like the idea. I'm
Yeah.
not against it.
Yeah.
I'm totally not against it. And that's obviously AI is like
Mm,
it's everywhere now. So I'm not against it, but
yeah.
the deciding factor, if I have a computer deciding if Harrison Ford's autograph is good or bad, or an authenticator who has experience, who's met him, who's gotten his autograph, who knows his autograph, who's seen it over the last 40 years. I'm still probably going to go with the person, but
Yeah.
I think the AI could help. And
It's
I
an
think
assistant. I
companies,
mean, you hit the
yeah,
nail on the head right
yeah,
there. It can, I
yeah.
think it can assist. It
Yeah.
can
But
get
what
you
I, yeah.
60% of the way
Maybe
there.
the age of the ink or something like that. Something
Yeah.
simple.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be tough. Yeah. I mean, but determining if it's going to be good or bad in the final vote, I would say no.
That's
But
yeah.
actually
Right.
coming to your aid and saying, hey, let's see what AI thinks of this.
Right.
And yeah, I do it here. There's a home renovation app or something you could use, take pictures of your house and say, I want to redo my home, and it does it for you. So
There you go.
it's stuff like that, but is that going to be the final factor? No, but does it help? I think it could. And I want to see who develops it. Wouldn't be surprised if PSA, if Nat Turner did something like that with all the money they've got and, resources. So
We shall
I wouldn't
see.
be
Yeah.
shocked.
We
Yeah.
shall see.
Yeah. All right, we're getting towards the end here. We always try to end it with a fun question.
That's it.
I know it is. We
Oh,
need to have you back
geez.
on.
I know,
All
it's
right,
not
see
enough.
ya. Let me put down the
Seriously.
computer.
So question of the day.
Sure.
We're talking where we've talked the whole episode about autographs, and I think of autographs, especially collecting them, as being a treasure hunt. So the question of the day is, what is each of you, and I'll give mine at the end.
All right.
What is your favorite treasure hunt movie of all time?
You want me to
Steve.
go, Steve, or you want to go?
Let Nick go first.
Yeah,
if
you go
need-
first.
Okay.
All right. This is wicked easy for me. It's beyond easy. It's The Goonies, man. That is just the best movie ever.
Goonies never die.
Goonies never say die. So
Never
they're
say-
they're going over what is that guy? Chester
One-eyed-
Copperpot or something.
Yeah,
He went
Chester
after.
Willie?
Copperpot,
Yeah.
One-eyed Willie.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm building the autograph set of the Goonies cards, so that's hilarious. It kind of fits into this episode
nice.
a little bit.
Okay, that's cool.
There we
Yeah,
go.
so that's mine. Goonies.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I like National Treasure.
Okay.
Nicolas Cage is a huge overactor, but
Great
I'd still
movie.
probably go to Indiana Jones, just
Mhm.
Temple of Doom, or not Temple of Doom, but Last Crusade. I mean,
Yeah. Last Crusade, with Sean
yeah.
Connery.
I love that
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean,
Mhm.
to me, that was, especially as a kid growing up, seeing Indiana Jones the first time and that stuff. I do love National Treasure, though. It's cool, but
Yeah, it's
I'd
fun.
still go
Yeah.
back to Indiana Jones for sure.
OG.
Mhm. All right, good pick.
All right.
So you each picked my top two.
Oh,
So my third was National Treasure. I think National Treasure, they did a great job. They did such a great job that I've heard rumors that they're turning it into a series. I think
Ooh, I hope so.
Amazon grabbed them,
Cool.
and it's
Really?
going to be a series. Yeah.
I'll watch that.
So
Well, I just saw the new one. John Krasinski's in it. Looks like
Oh.
a sort of adventure type. I
okay.
just saw a preview yesterday. So yeah, and I will mention one
Nice.
thing about Goonies. You're killing me. I mentioned this one thing.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I'm doing a signing. The guy that won an Oscar for visual effects for Indiana Jones: Last Crusade,
Mhm.
and it was cool. He brought us into his place. Lives way up on the top of the California border with Oregon, and he goes, "Hey, I've got some stuff. You guys want to buy some stuff?" He had old ILM T-shirts and some cool stuff he had from his days at ILM. And then he goes, "We finished the signing," and he goes, "Well, let me take you back in my garage upstairs. I've got more stuff." So he brings stuff out. And I regret this to this day. And you mentioned
Oh.
Goonies. He had one of the props used, the coins from
Oh, the
Goonies that you
doubloons.
look, yes.
Oh.
But the one you look through at the end or whatever. you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
Oh no.
yeah, he had it. Yeah, he had it. And I could have bought it. And I'm like, now I go back and I'm like, you're an
That's
idiot.
sad.
Oh, they're
Oh,
remaking
man.
that. A new one's coming out soon.
Oh,
They're
don't say
doing that as well.
Please,
Yeah.
Don't do that to me. Please.
Yeah.
Chunk needs to do a signing. Sorry, I don't want to digress too much more, but he's very hard to get to sign
Oh,
stuff.
I mean,
Two-
they're doing a new movie, so Chunk will probably
Yeah.
go on a media
Hopefully he
tour.
does
He'll
the
sign.
rounds.
He's
Yeah.
a nice guy. I've met him many times. 2006. I went to his law office. This is back in 06. Went to his law office in LA and had him sign a bunch of stuff. But he did it. And this was before he did shows. And he did one, I want to say he did one show with those guys, maybe two.
Yeah.
He did a Hollywood show and he left early. And he might have done another one. But yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy. He really
Few
is.
and far
sweetheart.
I'll get him eventually. Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, so Steve, what is what's a great way? Maybe the audience has questions about a career path in autographs, or maybe they're just fans, or from you on Pawn Stars, or maybe they're interested in the Grad Collection. What's a good way for somebody that's listening or watching to get in touch with you?
That's the best way, is just go to gradcollection.com. It's kind of right behind me if you see it.
Yep.
But that's the easiest way. We do consulting work on there. I do not authenticate autographs there. I can't. That's all done via Beckett. So, and something we do get a lot is people say, hey, what's this worth? Well, I have to make sure it's authenticated first. So we have a process for that. My wife handles all that stuff when it comes in, but we're able to help people with values or placing stuff at auction houses or just consulting them on collecting past, because that's one thing I've got great experience in, is guiding people on what to buy it at, and how to buy it. And that's something I want to do future going, now and currently. And, there's a lot of people that need help, because I see a lot of people that collect stupidly. Spend your money right, invest in quality stuff, whether it's high end or low end, but just make sure it's quality, iconic stuff. And because at the end of the day, no matter what, it's all going to be for sale somewhere. If it's not by you, by your family, by your kids, by whoever, they're going to sell it. Someone's getting rid of it. I've seen it happen thousands of times. It's going to go.
The basements.
Make sure you do it right. Just do it right. That's all.
Yeah.
And spend right and buy quality stuff. Don't get bogged down with minutia. Don't get bogged down with, Chibs from Sons of Anarchy. He's not worth anything. So, just do the good stuff. Collect the really good stuff. I found that out both ways, because as a collector, I couldn't stop collecting stuff. But man, collect quality, and at someday your payoff will be great for it. So, but we do that here. So gradcollection.com, easiest way.
Gradcollection.com. Perfect.
Visit, drop us a note off there. It's easy. We have contact information on there, and my wife and I handle that all the time. So
awesome.
Excellent. This is fun. Steve, you're going to be at the Sports Card Madness party at the National, so that'll be super fun.
Of course.
Yes. And, this is blessed. It was great talking.
Is that free drinks, or is that open bar? How are we doing that?
We'll see how
we'll
crazy.
Take care of you, Steve.
You're definitely not going to be paying for your drinks.
We're going to give me a drink coupon. You get one drink coupon per person. That's it.
We're actually thinking of naming drinks after things and companies and stuff like that. So maybe there could be a Steve Grad drink. I don't know. We'll see.
It's got to have bourbon in it, and then we're good.
Yep.
We'll come up with something.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Drink. All right, Steve.
Thanks again. Anytime.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.